Welcome back. You know what time it is. It's time for Tao of the Day. I am here every weekday, sometime in the morning. It is Thursday, January 6th, 2022, and I am talking Tao of the Day. So the Tao Te Ching is ancient text written about 600 BC and translates, or I like to translate it to the canon of reason. The idea behind the Tao is that individuals, if you read through this, you will be able to understand how to live a more reasonable life and how not to get caught up and really thrown off by things that are happening around you. The best way to approach our lives is with calm. We can see more opportunities when we're calm and when we're not expecting things, right? When we're not expecting where to go or how to be. Julie is on with me. It's wonderful. Love it. Love it. Love when you join me, Julie. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm just going to walk towards my charger for my phone.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, every time I see you, I think I've got to speak to this guy. He's great. That's
Oh,
all I got to say this morning.
that's such a beautiful, yeah. I am. It's been great since you've been here. Like I heard you speaking a number like for a while yesterday with my buddy Catherine, and you guys were talking about pets, and you guys were talking about all sorts of stuff. It was really wonderful to kind of be a fly on the wall with that conversation.
Yes, I did notice. Thank you so much for that, Martin. But yeah, it was just one of those where I like to think beyond human beings just for one time.
Well, I have a cat, and
Yay!
and we're buddies. Now I'm not really a pet owner. Like I don't see my pets as my pets, right? I
Did
look
you
at
notice the lack of the word pet when I was
yes,
talking? Yeah,
yes, and
there was a
so
reason. Yeah.
yeah, like I look at my cat as a person,
Yes.
because she has a personality,
Yeah.
right? So she's a person. Like that's how I describe it. Like
Yeah.
and I treat her as such. I don't put a collar on her because I feel that's a little demeaning. I wouldn't ever put her on a leash. I wouldn't
Yeah.
ever I we have an agreement. I will feed her and she will release all of the food in a certain place, and that's it. Like that's our agreement. Like I will give this to you and you will put it here when you're done.
Yes. Yeah. But also, they give you so much more. You give them food, they give you companionship, and it's unconditional, really.
Well, I think if I stopped feeding her, she would take care of herself.
Oh, yeah.
And she would put me behind. And so like there are I still think that there are conditions attached to some of it, but really she needs to take care of herself and she's gonna love me, and when when that love is no longer serving her, she will find a new way. Hopefully that will never happen, and I will continue feeding her, and I will continue to love her. And but she's a buddy. She's a buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. My cat was 21, and I miss my cat every day. I miss the
Mm.
soul of my cat every day.
Is
So
that the
that's
ginger?
why, yeah, yeah, it's a long haired
Oh,
ginger. Or, yeah,
yeah,
you notice the word it's. It's
yeah,
not gone yet. It'll always exist, always, even
yeah.
though physically it's not here. Yeah, it's a lovely cat, really, really nice kind of character. And like we said yesterday, it was an individual. There'll be never a cat like that cat again.
Yeah.
There'll be other cats that may be wonderful and want, they give you whatever they give you, but there's never going to be the cat that kept me company for 21 years.
Oh, that's for sure. Well,
Yeah.
with what was the name of your cat?
Parsley the
Parsley.
lion.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. So, with parsley in mind, give me a number for the Tao.
21.
21. Here we go. The master keeps her mind always at one with the Tao. Wait, did you and I do 21
We've
yesterday?
done 21. I'll have to pick another number. Let me see.
Yeah.
Try two.
Two. Okay, here we go. Two. This is for parsley.
This is Parsley. He was born in 2002.
Oh, okay, beautiful. So many twos. When people see something as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. Being and non being create each other. Difficult and easy support each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. Before and after follow each other. Therefore, the master acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. Things arise and she lets them come. Things disappear and she lets them go. She has but doesn't possess. Acts but doesn't expect. When her work is done, she forgets it. That is why it lasts forever. Oh,
Wow.
like just having addressed the fact that we were talking about parsley, that brings that into such clarity, right?
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. It is so descriptive of his being. That is so descriptive of his being and what he taught me. Really,
Yeah. So,
things
it
go, things
starts
go.
this
Let's go,
yeah,
Martin.
this starts right here in this beautiful space of when people see something as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see things as good, other things become bad. So it's this that's in order to experience one thing, the other has to exist.
Yeah,
And so when we approach our cats, when we approach our lives, and when we approach relationships that, like the relationships with our partners in cat, um,
yes,
we 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 don't define it. It's not beautiful or ugly or good or bad. It just is, and it is so
that's
beautiful in that.
yeah, yeah,
And if we
yeah.
could if we could take this outside of those relationships, and so many times we get in relationships with people and we're always measuring it.
Complicating,
Yeah, rather
adding
than just
to.
accepting it as it is in this moment right now. And like, this person is just this way.
Yeah,
It is, this person is this way, and I'm perceiving it from my point of view. And so I'm going to label it. And then once I say this is good activity from this person, all of a sudden that person can do bad activity because I've already created a standard, a measure.
yeah. Crikey, that's very deep, isn't it? Today, very
Hmm.
deep today. Yeah,
And we don't do that with our pets, right? Like, when they want to make biscuits on our belly, we let them. And
we
sometimes their
do. They
claws
can
dig
do.
in.
Yeah, they can do whatever. Yeah, they can like claw your neck when they want to get comfortable at night, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. We don't tell them off or anything. We just go,
Right.
oh, that's what the cat's doing now. That
Right. It's
it's
not good
neither.
or bad.
No, it's not. It's you just get that's contact. That's
Yeah.
my cat. That's just as it is. We
Hmm.
don't label it at all.
And
So
then this goes into this next section, which states being and non being create each other. So being here in the present, right? Like, creates like our thoughts that can take us away from being, right? Like, or maybe non being like the Tao, being like we can create the presence of the Tao. Even though the Tao is here, we have to recognize it. And so being and non being create each other.
yes,
Difficult and easy support each other.
yeah,
So in order to get, like, I've been going through a quote unquote difficult couple months, right? Like, I've been having difficulty with like my mind and my emotions and stuff. Nothing bad, just like, I've been sad and I've been lonely, whatever. Like, those things happen. And
yeah,
so I've been having difficulty, but that's difficult because there was a previous time that those things weren't difficult. So they were easy. Right. And so
yeah,
this is how we support each other. I have this difficult time And that's going to open up to a time that's going to be easy.
Yeah.
Long and short define each other. We were talking about parsley, and you said it was a long hair. The only reason that we know it's a long hair is because there are cats with shorter hair that are called short hair, right? Like,
Yeah, I have to choose a description. I have to choose how to
mhm.
describe him by comparing him to something that he isn't to
Right.
describe what he is.
Yeah. It's so interesting how much we do that everywhere in our lives, right? We label all these things, and yet even though we like to finish that I am statement with something. I am male, I am female, I am strong, I am short, I am whatever it is. Like, I am completes that every time.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, high and low depend on each other, before and after follow each other. And all of those, that's just about like how when we say something is ugly or when we say something is beautiful, it creates the opposite. So all of that is connected. Now we move into this final section that says, therefore, the master acts without doing anything. And when I see this word therefore, I really get intrigued, because it's there for a reason. um, but the therefore the master acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. If the master were to abide by this idea that, like, once we see beauty, once we see good, once we see being, the opposite is created.
yeah,
The master knows, don't create that, just like we do with our cat, right? Just like we do with our partners, in fur or whatever. We get to this place where we're not defining things, because it just is.
yeah. I've come to the place where I'm grateful. That's how I describe my cat now, is
Yeah.
by saying I was just grateful. That's it. I am grateful that I've had an experience. Doesn't matter what colour he was.
Right.
Doesn't matter the size. It doesn't matter that he's a cat. What I was grateful for was his being, and it's still there to me.
Yeah. And Parsley taught you things.
Yes,
And it, it, and he was there as, like, he was the master, right? And he acted without doing anything. Like,
he
3
did.
a.m. he's gonna snuggle up to your neck,
He
and
did.
he's going to do things, and he's going to teach you this, because you are also willing to learn from these scenarios. So now you become a vessel to be taught, and his being, in any way, no matter whether he's a long hair, short hair, cat, dog, like, person, whatever, like, you're open to receiving that lesson.
Yes. Yeah.
Things
What a
arise.
guy. Woohoo!
Things arise, and she lets them come. Just like, like, let's when something were to happen, like, Parsley would just be there and let it happen. Parsley wouldn't try and stop it. Maybe, I don't know.
No, he didn't even form an opinion on it. That's
Right,
the
like, when
whole
you guys,
thing.
when you brought Parsley on the boat, he didn't complain. I'm
No,
thinking, no, like, he just was like, okay, here's
no, no.
here's where we are now.
That's right. That was the power of what he taught me.
Yeah, this is just where we are. Find a place to sit and be there.
Yep.
Things disappear, and she lets them go. Parsley didn't pine over the things that were gone.
No,
Things came, things left, and Parsley was just observant.
he learned to be in his surrounding. He learned to be in his time. He was in the present at all times. He
Hmm.
didn't judge it. He didn't try to change it. He just went with it. That's
Yeah.
what he did. He just was there.
This
What
next line is
cracking.
beautiful. She has but doesn't possess, acts but doesn't expect.
Yeah,
Like you have all of this in the universe, like every tree, every person, every bit of information, every bit of love, and yet you don't possess any of it.
correct.
And you don't
Yeah,
expect it to be there. You don't have you just appreciate it and you're grateful for it to be here now. And then we finish
yeah,
this off with this beautiful, when her work is done, she forgets it. That's why it lasts forever. The work lasts forever in your heart, in you. All of the work that Parsley did is still here.
it is. How soothing a thought. How soothing is that?
And how much work Parsley did too. And it all is still here.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me. Oh man, it was. I had this. It wasn't a joke, but with a friend of mine, Andy Scarantino, who's here on Wisdom. You can find her. We used to like. I love this. I often say, "Oh man," and she and I would joke around that and overemphasize and be like, "Oh man," because I when I get excited, I do that. I say, "Oh man, that's so awesome!" Like, I'm a, I am definitely, I definitely get excited about that. So that was number two for Parsley. Thank you so much, Julie, for joining me. If anybody else wants to join me and has a number between 1 and 81 you want to share, I would love to. I would love to chat with you about your Tao of the day. I am going to go ahead. Yesterday, I chose 48 and never got a chance to read it. So I'm going to go ahead and start there. So if anybody wants to jump on, you just come on, pick a number between 1 and 81, and we'll chat a little bit about the Tao of the day. So 48 states, in pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. Less and less you need to force things until you finally arrive at non action. When nothing is done, then nothing is left undone. True mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. It can't be gained by interfering. You know, there's been a lot. We've gone through so many Tao, but this last line, it can't be gained in interfering. That I don't know why I'm burping so much all of a sudden. It can't be gained by interfering. There is this moment and there's this message here in the Tao that we haven't really experienced. And there's not a whole lot of chapters that we haven't read, but this point of it can't be gained by interfering is so important as part of the Tao, right? Like interfering is the doing. Interfering is trying to get something done, trying to have an expectation, trying to move something and manipulate something to your will. And yet nothing can be gained. True mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. True mastery can't be gained by interfering. And you can't, like, there is a verse in the Tao that I have not come across here on Tao of the Day on Wisdom that states something to the effect of, do you think you can, you know, improve the world? I don't think it can be done. And that's the same thing. Like, you can't gain mastery. You can't gain perfection. You can't gain that which something is truly, that which something truly is by interfering. You can't gain from doing. I know it seems like we can gain from doing. We really like that. I actually just put a post out today. Don't confuse your symptoms with the problem, because that's what we often do. We see the symptoms and we try to address the symptoms, but the thing is the problem is the thing that's running the whole show. And so we have to make sure that we stay in tune with the Tao, because the Tao is trying to focus on the problem while we are trying to focus on the symptom. And we have to focus on the problem as well, or we have to focus on the Tao so that the problem doesn't persist. So let's start going through this 48 together and see what it has for us. In pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. This is clear, it's concise, it's beautiful. In the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. And this is something that we praise in our world today, right? We praise the idea that you know more. We praise the idea that you have engaged in more. We praise the idea that so many things uh, are out there that we need to get, right? Like I when I tell people I don't listen to the news, everyone's first question is, well, how do you get your news? And it's just like, well, why is it so important that I have news? It's not like I'm ignorant, and I am in conversation with so many intelligent people. Like, news comes to me. um but maybe we don't need news. Maybe we don't need the news as much as we think we do. In the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added, like knowledge. I know this. But how much of that knowledge has changed over the years? How much of that knowledge that we carry is actually wrong because it's changed? And every time we gain knowledge, like, how many times have we had to relearn stuff, right? Like, Pluto is a planet. No, Pluto is a moon. No, Pluto is a planet. No, Pluto is a moon. No, Pluto is a planet. Like, like, how many times do I got to keep up with that before I just give up trying to add that to my arsenal of knowledge? Like, how many times have people told you because they know something, told you something about yourself because they have found something out, like, oh, that's just this, or oh, that's just that, or, like, your experience is pure and your experience is valid, even if it is not, uh, uh, even if it is not fueled by knowledge. It's experience, it is pure, it is yours. And so, in the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. Now think about that backpack of knowledge, right? It's just every day you're adding, 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 adding stuff in the practice of the Tao, right? So it's not in the pursuit of the Tao, but in the practice of the Tao. So in the way this is written, it's really important to take that into effect, right? Into account. In pursuit of knowledge, we are pursuing knowledge all the time. We're gaining stuff and we're putting it in our backpacks of our brains and saying, oh, here's a bit of knowledge I can bring out at a dinner party. Here's a bit of knowledge I can bring out when I hit the wisdom app. Here's a bit of knowledge that I can do all these things with. But in the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. And I love dropping stuff. You may have listened to me yesterday and heard that I was clearing out my clothes and my shoes and all of my stuff. I just woke up with this idea of, like, get rid of this stuff. Dropping things feels so good. I've been really trying to drop more and more stuff. Drop how long I'm on my phone. Drop how much I do, and just do less, and maybe gather less information. When I sit in front of my computer and I don't know what I'm going to do right now, or if I'm not focused on doing that which I want to be doing, I just close it. I close it and I just sit and I close my eyes and I say, wait. That's all I can do at this moment is wait. Wait until the right moment comes that I could just be here. You know, it's interesting. Julie and I talked about number two, and number two just a little bit ago. And number two talked about this point of when you create one thing, when you do one thing, or when you look for one thing, you create the other. Right? Being and non-being, doing and not doing, good and bad, ugly and beautiful, and I see that here as well. Right? As I practice being with the Tao, every day I'm dropping something. But then I just kind of came to mind that so many people out in the world right now are picking things up, picking up more knowledge, watching more news, getting more and more, you know, um, engaged with their pacifiers. Now I think and maybe many of you are on the path to open acceptance and love. And so we will eventually be the, predominant message. But right now, there's so many people grasping at knowledge, grasping at those things that they can put in their backpack, grasping at those things that they can possess, like in number two when we talked, like we were talking about parsley, Julie's pet, Julie's little cat person, who has passed. But um oh, I forgot what I was going to say. It came to me and I lost it. But yeah, just being acceptance, just acceptance of what is at this moment. So I missed that. Less and less. So, in the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. Less and less you need to force things until finally you arrive at non action. This is the thing. In the practice of the Tao, less and less, as you continue to practice the Tao, less and less do you need to force things. I don't need to force you to believe anything. I don't need to force you to do anything. I don't need to force you to think in a certain way. I don't need to force you to do anything until finally I can arrive at non action, doing nothing. And that's what I feel like has been happening to me naturally. I want you to know that I'm not closing my computer because, oh, I shouldn't do this. I'm closing my computer because it's like, doesn't feel good to look at, doesn't feel good to sit here and be in pursuit of something. Let me just shut it down and be quiet. Let me calm my body down. Let me calm my mind down. Some of those times I write down things about like stuff I want to write and want to talk about here on Wisdom. And then I never do. I mean, sometimes I do, but really, it's more of this being in this space of just being open to what is in this moment. So less and less do you force things until you finally arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. And that is paradoxical, I think, and I think people can get caught up in this idea of non-action and things. And I remember the first time I recognized I did nothing. I gave someone a ride home, and it was across town. I live in Chicago, so it was like on the south side. I was living on the north side. I had to take Lakeshore Drive all the way down, and it was like a 25-minute ride at midnight on a Sunday. Um, I mean, I don't know if any of those facts are right. I'm making them up, but it seems like that would be legit, right? Like, so 25-minute drive down Lakeshore Drive on a Sunday at 1 o'clock in the morning or midnight. And I say that because there's no traffic or anything. So it's a distance. And I drop them off and they're getting out and they said, "Thanks so much for the ride. I really appreciate it." And my response is, it's nothing. And at that moment, as the door closed, as they got out of the car, I recognized I just did nothing. And it was an action. I mean, it wasn't an action that I took, it was just something that happened. I experienced non action. I experienced doing nothing and something being done through it. And that's what I kind of reference when I hear this: when nothing is done, nothing is left undone. You don't have to go out of your way and do something, because so much of the things that we do get caught up in things that we do, and we make a list and check boxes and all of these things that don't bring us anywhere. So this is where we come into this final section. True mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. If someone doesn't want to be your friend anymore, you let them go. If you don't follow that. You feel in yourself and you allow that to be the facts. Like, that's what it is. No problem. We can step away from this. But we also want to sit with ourselves. We don't want to distract ourselves because we're sad or anything. We want to sit with ourselves. We want to ask ourselves, well, why? Why do we feel this way? What's going on? What do we want to do about it? How do we want to move forward? It can't be gained by interfering. True mastery is not going to be gained by interfering. So if you want to interfere in anything that, like anything that's going its own way, if you want to interfere with that, that's great, but you're not going to gain true mastery by interfering. Now, that's not to be said. It's like, as we talk about things like Black Lives Matter, or we talk about things like, school shootings and other stuff like that, you want to speak up against that. If that's coming from a place of not doing, right? When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. So speaking up and speaking your voice when it is not doing, when you're not saying, I need to change your mind, right? Once you tighten your fist and say, I need to affect change, I need to um what does it say in here? It says, less and less do you need to force things until finally you arrive at non action. If you're trying to force something, force someone to be a certain way, force someone to think a certain way, force anything to be other than it is, well, then you're in a position that um, is manipulatable. It's easy to manipulate you if you get caught up in the actions and in the whole of what an emotional state something is in, right? Like if I want a goal, if I want to achieve something, I can easily be manipulated. Think about money. If you want money, how easy is it to manipulate you to do something to engage in making more money, whether that be gambling, whether that be getting a job, whether that be, that take you away from you, take you away from the not doing. All of a sudden you're doing, doing, doing. And maybe the doing needs to be put aside so that you can make money, right? So maybe your message and strengthening your fist, and you're tightening your fist and saying, I need to do this, is the thing that's keeping you from that which you really need, which is freedom. What you really want is freedom. And maybe freedom can look like a job. Maybe freedom can look that way for a time. So true mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. It can't be gained by interfering. We like to interfere. We love to interfere. We love to help people or tell people what to think and what to do and how to be. But all of that is just, it's not helping us gain any true mastery. And it's just putting us in a place of probably confusing things more than anything. So that was 48. I'm going to go ahead and read it again. If you guys want to jump on and give me a number, I would love to have you. In pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. Less and less you need to force things until finally you arrive at non-action. Because when nothing is done, nothing is left undone. True mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. True mastery, it cannot be gained by interfering. Thank you so much. I'm your host, Martin John. This is Tao of the Day and a Recover Yourself production. I am a recovery mentor. If you're interested in learning more about how you can, get out of your problems and stop looking at your symptoms. I posted something today on Instagram. You might want to check it out. Like, don't confuse your symptoms for your problems. I will probably be doing a talk about this a little later today. Our symptoms can often get in the way of us seeing our problems. We can be like, oh my God, I got to lose weight. Oh my God, I got to get a better job. Oh my God, I got to get a better relationship. Oh my God, I got to get all these things. I got to stop drinking. I got to stop using crack. I got to do all these things. But really, those are all symptoms, And I even like this may be controversial to some, but I even look at cancer as a symptom. My MS is a symptom. These diseases and illnesses that we carry are symptoms. They are ours. They are ours to learn from, maybe ours to die from. But either way, they're just symptoms. And if we can look at the problems that cause those symptoms, we can allow those symptoms to heal themselves rather than look at each and every individual symptom we have, right? Like, oh, my sugar addiction, my food addiction, my cocaine addiction, my Netflix addiction, my phone addiction, my computer addiction, my work addiction, my all of those are just symptoms. Whether it's a pacifier or an addiction or just something you use to escape, your exercise, all of those things. Your body is perfect right now. That doesn't mean you won't do anything, right? I'm not trying to get you to like sit on your bed for the rest of your life, right? And think about things. I just like and think, oh well, I can't do. And that's not what the Tao is, and that's not what my work is. My work gets you to a place where you can do finally, but you're doing for yourself, which is why we talk about it as recovering yourself. Because who you are is so important to the world. And without you being who you are, you're robbing everybody of you. And you are so important. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for the Tao of the Day. I'm here weekdays in the morning at some point, usually between 8 and 10, sometimes earlier, sometimes a little later, Central Time. And I love talking about the Tao. I love having you on. Someone's jumping in. Spencer Boggs. I now either I've seen you around or we have actually interacted before. Spencer, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm well, man. Now I've seen you about, I think, but I don't think we've engaged. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Do you know Tao of the Day?
Yes, I have listened to a couple of your previous, uh, I'm gonna call it lectures or talks or.
Yeah, I don't know what to call them, but they're here.
Yeah, I just discovered them about a week ago, and I've been listening to it pretty
Oh,
intently. I
oh,
like what you're
wonderful.
doing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It's always nice to meet new folks and to turn people on to the Tao Te Ching. That's my shit. Like so what number do you have? One between 1 and 81.
How about 18?
18. Here we go. All right, this is a short one so we can dive deep into it.
Alright.
When the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. When the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. When there is no peace in the family, filial piety begins. When the country falls into chaos, patriotism is born. Initial thoughts.
Um, it said whenever a country dives into chaos, patriotism's born. And that
Yeah.
just made me think about how corrupt the government is today and how the wealth and power is all controlled by a select few and how it's not a just society like we all think it is.
Yeah. And so many people today because of that, right? Like so we're going to get into this really deeply in a minute, but I want to just talk about that last line because when you have these select few people that control media, that control so many different aspects of the daily life of the masses, what they push is patriotism looking a certain way. And
Yeah,
so that everybody can feel like they're being patriotic in this specific way while we're all fighting amongst each other and those select few that are at the top can just reap all the benefits of discord because there's chaos.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like that's the thing. Like when a country falls into chaos, patriotism is born because now you can believe in the country while the country doesn't believe in you because it's run by a bunch of people who aren't looking out for your best interest.
yeah. They're only concerned about how much money they make and how much material things they can possess.
Oh, and well, I would also argue that they're looking for how much power in the physical world they can possess. So like
Yeah,
that
for
is a
sure.
physical thing, right? They have power over our minds because they control so much of the media, they control so much of what we consume. It's really important to understand like that there is and this 18 really talks about the corrosion of our spirit. And we're going to go back to the beginning now. We're going to look at this. So when the great Tao is forgotten. Now the great Tao is all things. And I don't know if you're religious, but we can utilize the term God here. We can utilize universe when our deep intelligence with our heart and that intelligence that connects you and I, that intelligence that even though you and I have never met, there is a connection here.
Yeah,
That is the great Tao, right? Like just to describe what the hell it is, like that's the great Tao. When that connection is forgotten, goodness and piety appear.
okay.
So what I see that being is like, well, goodness and piety look a certain piety is usually a religious stance of being like faithful to your religion or like to honor to honor God and
Yeah.
for it to look a certain way, for it to look a certain way. And it's really important that goodness looks a certain way. If you look at somebody and it seems like they're kicking somebody in the face, right? Like
Yeah.
it may very well not look good, but we don't know the situation. It may very well just look that way from the angle that we're taking it at. And maybe what they're doing is they're trying to put a fire out with dirt, like by kicking dirt onto the face of someone who lit their face on fire. Like that might be a really good act, right? Like we might not know exactly what's going on, but what happens is like goodness looks a certain way. And if you act a certain way when goodness appears, then you are seen as good. But before that, when the great Tao, before the Tao was forgotten, we assumed everybody was good. We assumed all was well because it was in line with the Tao. So once the Tao is forgotten, we need things like goodness, piety, laws, and all those things because we don't trust each other, because we don't believe in that connection.
Yeah, that makes me think about how I live in an apartment, but I remember my grandma telling me stories about how when she lived in the mountains or whatever, she would just leave her door unlocked. She wasn't worried about someone breaking in or something.
Yeah.
But I'm in
She didn't she
such
didn't
close
she didn't even
proximity.
think she didn't think people were good. She just didn't even expect that to be a possibility.
Yeah, she just, well, it was not even a thought.
Right. That's the Tao, right? Connected to the whole always, without fear. Once the Tao is forgotten, you start locking your door and you start saying, oh, there's goodness and there's piety. And now, once I create goodness, I spoke about this earlier in chapter 2 with Julie. We talked about like when you create good, you've created bad. Once goodness is created, what have you created in its opposite? Badness. And
Yeah.
once piety appears, what do you create in its opposite, in its void? You create that like evil, right? Like there's this piety is this respect to religion, this respect to, and later on we talk about filial piety. That means like having respect for your family over all else.
Hmm.
You know, and then when the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth. What are your thoughts there? What do you think the body's intelligence is?
I think the body's intelligence is like, it tells you, like, it's your body, your like DNA tells your body, like, say you eat a banana, your body tells you that that banana turns into your body and not, say, a dog's body. That's
Mm.
part of the body's intelligence. And it also helps you to, like, sometimes, like, when you just get that sixth sense, like, ooh, I think someone's watching me. And
Like
you,
intuition or that
yeah.
feeling, yeah.
And
So when the body's intelligent, so let's say when that intuition declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth.
yeah, because you're not as worried about your body and you turn inwards and you really explore, like, the possibilities of life and consciousness and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay, I see it. I see that, and I like that. When the body's intelligence, that deep connection to the Tao, that deep connection to that, like that intuition, like you were talking, like that sixth sense, cleverness and knowledge step forth. And I look at cleverness and knowledge, and it's interesting because I just read number 48, and 48 said something about knowledge. Let me scroll down to it really quick. 48 said, in the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. And so this concept of like knowledge, when the body's intelligence declines, cleverness and knowledge step forth, it's kind of well, in lieu of having my body's intelligence, in lieu of having my intuition, I'm going to lean on being clever. I'm going to lean on being knowledgeable and collecting all of this information all the time. That's kind of how I see it. When it's like your body's intelligence, like that sixth sense, you can't explain that. You can't tell someone, oh, I think we should go left, and I don't know why, but we should go left, right? Like you just
Yeah.
have that sixth sense of like, let's go left.
It's like
But
the universe is sending you messages trying to help you out.
right. But then, the person driving goes, no, 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 no. The GPS says go right. So I'm gonna go right. And you go right and like you get in an accident, right? It's like
Yeah.
when you rely on cleverness or knowledge, you're dismissing that deep intelligence that you have access to at any moment.
Yeah. I've been trying to dig in to discover that intelligence over the past month. I've really been doing it. I just discovered I was brought up, raised as Christian, and I
Hmm.
was taught don't look at other religions, only study Christian, and don't even consider any other possibilities. And
Yeah.
that's a really limiting point of like
Reference.
view. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I asked myself, I was like, what if there isn't a God? And I'm just wasting my time with this. And so I started delving into different religions like Hinduism and Buddhism, like
Beautiful.
religions that focus on the self. And I can safely say that I'm slowly converting to a Buddhist or a Hindu.
But yeah, no, and like identifying is great, but I would say just keep keep open,
Yeah,
because the minute you close yourself off, like Hinduism and Buddhism are still boxes,
yeah, that's true.
right? Like you are bigger than a boss, and I'm going to tell you there is a God, and it's you.
Yeah, that's the Buddhism and Hinduism. That's what they delve into
But
about finding the God within yourself.
so the Bible talks about that as well. Like when they talk about the great I am, that is you. You are Jesus. You are the Son of God. You have all of this within you. The thing is in the religious world,
Hmm.
they make it separate. They make Jesus a separate person. They don't may say like Jesus is everybody. You are Jesus. You do have the power to heal. You do have a connection with God. And in Buddhism, like if you look at these religions from a broader perspective, rather than like, well, what serves the church, what serves the ashram, what serves these individuals, when you look at it from a broader perspective, you get to be at the center of all that. And
Yeah,
that brings up this next line: when there is no peace in the family, filial piety begins. And this is just like in your church, that's a family, right?
yeah,
When there's no peace in the family, filial piety begins, meaning you have to look at the reverend, you have to look at the preacher, you have to look at the priest. I don't know what words you guys use, but you have to look at that person as being the head of the family.
and not a collective, right?
Right. Like he now dictates to you. And the thing is you're the one doing.
And you look at his word, his law, and you live
Right.
by. Okay, I see what it's saying.
And all of this comes because of what? Because the great Tao was forgotten, and the Tao is where? It's within you, and it only exists within you, right? It exists within all things, but the connection that you have with it is unique and yours.
That's beautiful.
And as it dissipates, the longer it's forgotten, the more people turn to other things, right? When the great Tao is forgotten, goodness and piety appear. That's where it starts. It starts with just being, okay, well, because I don't know how to be me, like your grandmother, like how to
Hmm.
not lock her door, all of a sudden I have to trust in goodness. But in that, I create badness. When the body's intelligence decline, cleverness and knowledge step forth. That's because I can't trust my intuition. When there is no peace in the family, filial piety begins because I can't trust the family. When the country falls into chaos, patriotism is born. And one after another, it just spreads. across the globe. But it all starts with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for talking with me and helping me understand the Tao better.
Yeah. If you're interested in reading more of the Tao and checking it out, I'm always open to sending you. You're about to cut out, but I'm always connect with me on Instagram or my website. Send me an email, and I will send you links to get English translations of the Tao Te Ching. That way you can pick a number every day for yourself, and then you can go through it and talk about it. And if you ever catch me, you can always kind of say, hey, this number was throwing me off and I would love to sit down and talk about it. So I'm always open to, further discuss the Tao. Thank you guys so much. What a great man, Spencer. I love having new people come up to the Tao. And if anybody wants to come up, you're still welcome. I'm going to be wrapping up otherwise. But so I'm Martin John, recovery mentor, 21 years, clean and sober. A large aspect of what I talk about is what is it we're recovering to? And I utilize the Tao to kind of help me navigate that. So that's why I present Tao of the Day weekdays here usually between 8 and 10 a.m. sometime Central Time. And love you guys. It's so great to be sharing this with you. And I'm glad that you guys get so much out of it. If you're interested in learning more about what I do and how I talk about what I'm doing, and really stop looking at your symptoms, start looking at the problems in your life. I have a number of workshops coming up. I have 4 dates for my recovery workshop every Tuesday, starting next Tuesday, or this Tuesday, I guess it would be, the 11th through February 1st. So if any of those dates work for you, I would love to work with you. You can check out my website for tickets, and you can also hit me up. You can DM me on Instagram if you want to talk. I also work with a limited number of clients one-on-one every month. We work together for 4 sessions, and those are intense, and would love for you to join me for one of those. Other than that, I'm Martin John. This is a Recover Yourself production, and until next time, everyone out there, keep recovering yourself. Love you. Bye-bye.